Okay, once you have completed your evaluation, if you decide you still want to go through with your upholstery project, there will be some tools that are going to be necessary. I have some professional upholstery tools here. This is a mallet, a tack hammer, this is a staple puller, this is a tack puller, a pair of side cutters, and a flat-headed screwdriver. Now the flat-headed screwdriver is really handy to have if you do not want to buy a staple or a tack puller. You can sharpen the end up on this with a file or a little grinder if you have one, and you can drive this with your mallet, and you can use that to remove staples until you find if this is something you want to do a lot of, then you can step up and you can purchase these specific tools. But to get started, all you really need is a flat-headed screwdriver and some type of a mallet or some type of tack hammer that you might have around the home. Side cutters are very important. A lot of people have these, or you can pick them up at a hardware store. These make getting staples out a lot easier. The first thing we want to do on our reupholstering project is to remove the fabric from the chair. Now I have elevated this chair up onto my workbench, and I put down the shipping blanket to keep it clean and to protect the chair from any damage. You can do this at home right on the floor if you have a nice thick carpet, but I have it up here for demonstration purposes, and it's also a little easier on your knees and easier on your back if you don't have to be bending over all the time. So what I will do is demonstrate to you how to use the staple puller and a mallet and the side cutters. This chair has been reupholstered at one point in time, and the last upholsterer used staples, so these are going to be the main tools we're going to need to strip the fabric off this frame. Okay, now the staple puller works by getting underneath the staple with this sharp point and lifting it up and driving it with the mallet. Now you can sometimes just pull that right out with your staple puller, but if it's being stubborn and it's not coming out very easily, you can also use your side cutters to grab that staple and just pull it right out. It's also a good idea to have something on hand to keep your staples in, so you don't lose them on the floor. You'll never find them all later. Okay, once you have all the staples removed, your dust cover should just easily come off, as it does. Now, there is a specific order that all of these parts are going to come off in, starting with the dust cover, and the next we will move to the outside back of the chair. These will also have to be installed in reverse order. So the final part of the reupholstering your chair will be to install the dust cover. So what we'll do now is we will turn this chair over, and I will show you how we remove the outside back. Now this particular chair has a welt cord that goes around the base of the chair. That will have to be removed next. So we will take the staples off that hold that on, and that'll allow us to get to the fabric and the staples for the outside back. This cardboard tack strip that I'm removing right here is here to give this welt cord a nice defined line, and it helps to make it nice and straight. Okay, I have removed the welting off the base of the chair, so now I can get to the staples that hold on the outside back. We'll remove those, and then I will work my way up each side, and we'll finish off by doing the top crest rail on the chair, and we'll be able to take. Now, as I started working my way up the back of the chair, I noticed that this particular chair uses what's called a curve ease. Now, this curve ease just is able to be unbent. And what this does is it allows you to go around curves, and it also grips the fabric in here, as you can see with these little teeth. You put the fabric on there and you fold this over, and this gives you the finished edge. This is only one of a couple different ways that you can do this. Another way is to just have a straight piece of metal with barbs that come through the fabric that can be folded and pounded in with a mallet. Another way to do this is to hand stitch it with a needle and thread, and that's called a blind stitch method. Personally, I prefer to blind stitch. I'm not a big fan of curve ease because you can see here it has rusted, and sometimes these come off, and that's a sharp edge there that people can get cut on. It's just, my personal opinion. A lot of upholsterers use these, and there's nothing really wrong with them. But if you're doing this at home, this is going to be something else you are going to have to try to locate, and it may not be available where you live. So when I put this chair back together, I will demonstrate how to blind stitch this with a needle and thread. Okay, I also think it's important to mention that if you use the curve ease, or if you use a tack strip, which is a piece of metal with barbs in it that you turn over, and when you use the mallet to put this back, sometimes if you're using a very light fabric, the mechanical force that the mallet applies to the fabric and to the tack edge can cause it to cut. So that's another thing to keep in mind, and it's also another reason why I don't really like to use this style. Also, this curve ease is not original to the chair. The person that upholstered this chair last put this on. This is more of a modern interpretation of a tack strip. And originally, tack strips would have been made by the upholsterer using a thick cardboard strip with tacks punched through it. As I described earlier, as a piece of metal with barbs. The metal with the barbs is the modern equivalent to the cardboard with the tacks. But I would suggest that, or I would suppose that originally this chair was either had the shop-made tack strip or it was hand-stitched. Now that we have the back removed from the chair, it's a good time for me to mention that it's a good idea to keep these pieces until your chair is done. You can use these to reference back to if you have any questions later on when you're putting your chair together. And they also work well as a pattern. So you can lay out your fabric before you cut it. It gives you a good guideline to go by. So I always like to fold them up. And if you have a piece of chalk, or you can take a piece of masking tape or something and stick it on there, and you can write just exactly what part this is that came off the chair, so you won't have any questions later. We went ahead and we removed the curve ease that was stapled along the edge. We also removed the welt cord that was there, and we loosened up the Dacron wrap. Now this Dacron, if you're trying to do this at home and save yourself some money, this can be used over again if it's in good shape. In this case, we won't be reusing it. On this chair, we will be replacing it with some cotton padding. So the next step is to remove the outside arms, and then we will go to the outside wings. very unusual to find these glued on as hard as this one. Normally they just have a few tacks through them to hold it on. Now, don't forget that you can write on here what part this is. So the outside arm, write it on there with a white chalk, and set that aside. You can use it as your pattern. You've probably noticed that we've been taking these outside pieces off, that we find another piece of fabric in here. This also has some padding underneath it. Feels like foam rubber. What this is done for is so that when you get the chair all upholstered, you can't feel the edges of the frame. We're going to continue to strip this off, but when we reupholster this chair, we're going to use a little different method than what's been used here. This is probably just some scrap that last upholsterer had left over from another job that he used to save a little bit of cost on materials. But we'll explain this in a little more detail as we put this chair back together. Well, we have the outside pieces of the chair all removed. The next step is to remove the inside pieces. Usually the order that the inside pieces are removed is the inside back, the inside arms, wings, and then the deck of the chair come off. This chair is a little different than a typical chair. Normally on the frame of the chair we have a piece of wood strip up through here that's called a pull piece on the frame. This chair does not have any, which leads me to believe that this chair may have been built in Europe. Very often I see European chairs, they do not use that. On American-made chairs, they tend to use that more often. So we're going to start in this area here, removing fabric in order to get the outside back off it, and then we will move on to the outside or the inside wings, and we'll go from there.